Broadcasting worldwide on Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, and online. This is the Gospel America Television Network.
It's time for Real Talk with the Jenkins, featuring Lady MJ, Pastor Marcella Jenkins, and Dr. G, Dr. Gary Jenkins. And now, let's join Real Talk with the Jenkins.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Real Talk with the Jenkins. I'm Dr. G.
I'm Lady MJ.
And we are the Jenkins. And someone who's with us who's not a Jenkins, but a very good friend, is Miss Sherley Spears, former president of the NAACP here in San Angelo, and now you are still moving on along and making new grounds.
I am trying to make new grounds, and I'm trying to expand the ground we've already built.
Well, you have definitely stirred up the city of San Angelo in a lot of ways.
I hope that's a positive.
I think it is. Well, you know, anytime somebody does something good in the city, there's going to be pros and cons, people that like you,
Sure.
people that don't like you, so what? You know?
Absolutely.
And
so is life.
So you know, we move on anyway and do what we're destined to do. And we certainly are proud of the accomplishments that you have made. That's one of the reasons that we want to have you on the show today, because we're paying tribute to African American History Month, and especially people who have done the first of whatever they're doing in San Angelo. And I couldn't think of a better person than you. And so talk to us a little bit about the movements you've incurred in the city.
Well, you know, I'll say that being the first of anything kind of makes you feel ancient, but I know that's not what you intend. But yes, I've enjoyed my time here in San Angelo, and I'll be here for a while longer. But I guess most of the things that I've done have been based on me being part of various boards and committees in the city, and being able to have access to people who are influencers and decision makers. And it wasn't that I was the first to do that, but through that I took advantage of those opportunities. And so I have been president of the San Angelo NAACP from 2019 to 2022. But backing up a few years before that, in 2016, we held a peace concert that was in honor of 9/11. And I did represent the San Angelo NAACP under our past president, Mr. Garland Freeze, to establish a peace concert. And it was to honor those who had fallen during the 9/11 attack. And then in 2017, and that was the first time we had done that. We were asked to do that. In 2017, it was the first for me, because I just really begged and pleaded for the NAACP to host an event, which is our quarterly meeting. I think you all just recently experienced a quarterly meeting, and we typically have always had them in person until COVID came along. And so it was the first quarterly meeting, I believe, that we had had in some time in San Angelo. And then in 2019, I was able to get the NAACP to host the first ever state convention here in San Angelo.
I remember that. That was quite an event.
That was quite an event.
Wasn't that a first?
That was a first.
Okay.
For the San Angelo chapter. And of course, you know, we've been around now 76 years, but in 2019, that was the first.
76 years.
Well, it was 73 years at that time.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. And so we were real excited to host the state organizations from across the state of Texas. We had some out-of-town guests certainly to be here, but it was phenomenal. We did an excellent job, and you know, like anything else that you were saying, you're going to have a few issues here and there, but overall it was a great convention. People now recognize San Angelo to be an independent branch, as they say, and not just in the shadows of one or two people. And that was what I was really trying to share, is so that the people here could be empowered, not only the members, but for the people in San Angelo. We have those events every year, and it's kind of like, well, what are they paying these dollars for? What are they sponsoring for? And so I want them to see the work of the NAACP, and across the state of Texas, that was important to me.
What do you say to people who say, well, why even celebrate African American history? Why is it so important to keep the movement going, to enhance the knowledge of the community about our history? Talk to me about that.
Well, you know, as I say, I am Black history. And so every time I am anywhere, I am Black history.
You heard it first on Real Talk with the Jenkins. Shirley Spears says, I am Black history. That's a powerful statement. I like that. It
is, because the time that I grew up, you know, I was born during the Civil Rights era and grew up during the Civil Rights era. Actually, I should say not born then, but grew up during the Civil Rights era. And I faced a lot of different circumstances that I have recognized people here in San Angelo that are African American have experienced. I grew up in a larger city in the Fort Worth area, and so there were a lot of things that we experienced differently than the Black community did here. And so when I look at what we're debating now in this country, in this state, about whether or not we're going to teach Black history, whether or not people are comparing CRT to Black history. It's not the same thing. Critical race theory is a legal construct. Black history is what it is. And you cannot tell the true story of anything if you exclude Black people from it. We've been here in large numbers since 1619, and even before that, you know, we were here. And so if you're going to take that history away from the next generations to come, and if you're going to just erase me, because that's what you're doing, you're erasing me from history, me and my ancestors, my family, you're erasing me if you decide that you can't teach that history, and I have a major problem with that. And one of the things that we're working with at the state level, I am on the state executive committee of the NAACP now, and that's one of the things that we're really fighting for, is to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I look at Black history as very important because it explains to people that haven't been through some of the things that you and I been through, that this really happened. And it's almost like me going to Africa. When I went to Africa, yeah, I see on TV the poor, the big belly kids, and you know, you say, you know, that's really not real. You know, you think in your mind, but when you go and see, this is for real. So we, as the Black generation here, the older Black generation, I think that it's very important, not just for us to know our history, but for all other nationalities to know our history, understand who we are. You know, because if you don't know what somebody been through, you don't really know who they are. Right, and if you decide you're not going to teach about it, then you're hiding it. Yes. And we know scriptures in the Bible that tells us what happens. Yeah, we know from scriptures in the Bible what happens when you take a gift, an experience, and hide it and not help it to mature and produce and reproduce. And so I'm hoping that within our own community, unfortunately, I realize a lot of us don't know our history. When I look at some of the things that I have started digging into, I love history. And I really started digging into the history of Fort Concho here a few years ago, and I've served on the Fort Concho Museum Board for several years now. And then last year I was the vice president of the Fort Concho Museum Board. This year, and I'm not the first, but I am, I think, the first woman, Black woman, to be chair or president of the Fort Concho Board, and I take that position very seriously. We're there to help Fort Concho to continue to be the landmark and the legacy that it is. And, you know, I have brought that understanding into a different level, and so through the divine order of God himself, then I've come up with this idea that he has allowed me to nurture and to really work on, and that is to build a memorial in honor of the Black soldiers known as the Buffalo Soldiers. We are in a unique situation here in San Angelo where all four of the four major groups, the regiments, the 9th and 10th Cavalry, the 24th and 25th Infantry, served here, but also the 38th, 39th, 40th, and 41st Infantry served here before they were combined into the 24th and 25th. And so we are creating this landmark that will be here when we're all dead and gone for generations to come, to celebrate and recognize these men
and their families, because without them, a lot of the West would not have been settled, because that's why the United States government established them in 1866, was to help move and deal with the western part of these colonies that were being established and in these different states. And so they did that. They served with honor and distinction. Many of them received medals of honor. And that's history right here in San Angelo. So it's not like you have to go get in the car and drive somewhere and go experience something. It's right here in your front yard, backyard, or however you want to say that. And while I realized that there were groups of men here in San Angelo who were part of the living history. They are older now. They're not able to participate. Some of them, unfortunately, have passed away. But the community, I just don't see the level of commitment that this fort deserves from our people. At one point, it was more than 50% occupied with Buffalo Soldiers.
Oh, wow.
And without them being here and taking some of the campaigns that they had to take to settle west, what we have, what we know, we wouldn't have here in the city. We were the first, the black Buffalo Soldiers were the first park rangers. We had our first superintendent of national parks. Was an African American. No, the national parks.
Okay.
You know, the Yosemite and all of those.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that was the first black superintendent for that, and that was Charles Young. And there are things that we just kind of take for granted, I think.
Yeah.
But when we take it for granted and we don't reinforce it, which I think is what I've tried to do, I hope that I've been successful in doing that, is, first of all, I don't want you to erase it. What's there. Number two, I want you to know about it. And number three, I'm going to reiterate it as many times as necessary for you to get it.
Speaking of reiterating, we're going to go back into more of what our special guest, Ms. Sherley Spears, has done and continues to do in San Angelo to make history, not only for just African Americans, but for all of us. This is our special series on African American history, and you're watching Real Talk with the Jenkins. I'm Dr. G.
I'm Lady MJ.
And we are the Jenkins.
With the Jenkins, we'll be right back after these messages.
I'm Dr. Leon. I'm an independent interventional cardiologist practicing in San Angelo over the last 18 years. This room is our endovascular suite. This is the first outpatient cath lab in Concho Valley. We perform invasive procedures to improve the blood flow to the patient's legs, arteries, and veins. We have all the equipment we need to perform these procedures very safely in these outpatient settings. We can perform atherectomy, which means remove the build-up plaque from the arteries of the legs, do balloon angioplasty, implant stents if needed, and we have all the technologies that the major medical centers have required to perform these procedures.
Call Cardiology Associates of West Texas at 325-944-1240.
My name is Travis with Graves Transmissions. Here at Graves Transmissions, we have a reputation for customer service, and we've been serving the San Angelo area for over 45 years. Our focus is you, the customer. So whether you need a diagnostic check or a complete transmission service repair, we're here for you. Graves Transmissions, where service meets quality, and that's our #1 priority.
We are here when you need us.
Graves Transmissions, 1202 Pulliam Street, San Angelo. And now back to Real Talk with MJ and Dr. G.
We're talking about African American history as we commemorate those who have contributed to our community as well as to the nation. And in San Angelo in particular, there are many African Americans right here in this city who are the first in whatever it is that they have done. And one of those people is our special guest, Ms. Sherley Spears.
Thank you. So glad to be here with you guys.
Yes, and we're happy to have you.
It's an honor.
It's an honor because you are, I figure, a walking library of Black culture.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and I'm so glad that all of those things that my mother taught me and my black teachers taught me in my black schools has paid off, because I learned a lot of these things that I use today at this point in my life from things that I learned at a very young age growing up during the civil rights movement in a segregated world. So I'm glad that there's value and benefit these many years later, and that the lessons that they taught me, the sacrifices that they challenged me to experience, allow me to move forward and make a lot of sacrifices and stand still and strong, because a lot of people view the things that I desire and I suggest and I recommend as radical ideas.
Well, you've been accused of being a radical.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Well, you either love her or hate her, but she
can be radical sometimes.
But speaking of the challenges that you talked about, one of the challenges you had was the whole idea of something as simple as placing toilets in the Martin Luther King Jr. Park here in San Angelo. Tell us about that.
That was an oxymoron to me, that you had a park that was named in honor of one of the greatest prophets that ever lived, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And you had porta potties that had been there 20 plus years. And once upon a time when it was first built, there were restrooms there. Now, that park is what they call a neighborhood park, as I kept being told from city officials. And in that community, once upon a time, there were a lot of African Americans that lived in that community. And during the time once the park was built, there was still a large population of African Americans. Of course, in San Angelo, things have changed, and you have an integrated community all over the city. But people had to experience using porta potties, which didn't make any sense to me. And when you look at them always telling us in the news that black people don't exercise, we don't do this, we don't do that. Well, we can't go to the park down the street, up the corner there, because we can't use restrooms. You can't change your baby's diaper. You know, you can't do anything in a porta potty. That reminded me of being in Mansfield, Texas back in the 50s, going to my aunt and uncle's outhouse. To have to go do that.
Y'all remember what our outhouse was?
Yeah. What was that? And so I'm like, okay, this is not happening. This is the 21st century. Why are we doing this? And so we started talking about it. We met with Parks and Rec here in the city, and just one thing led to another. And then we started demanding it, and through the city council, and they just refused to do anything because of the classification of the park. It wasn't a community park. It was classified as a neighborhood park, which didn't entitle it to city money to build restrooms. And I think they got tired of us, you know, really complaining about it. And finally, the challenge was put out there, well, if you want restrooms, if you build it, we'll maintain it. Okay, all right, we'll do that. And so that's what we did from people here in the city. Black, white, brown, male, female, people who used to live here, people who grew up here. They contributed to our first opportunity to raise money, which was last San Angelo Gives in last May. And we raised the money, and so we're now in the process of finalizing the construction requirements, and we will have restrooms there in about 5 or 6 months. The delivery time for the modular restroom is probably the longest thing that has to be dealt with, longest action in the project plan. But yeah, we're going to get restrooms at the park. And so when we have our Juneteenth activities, a father and his female or his daughter doesn't have to be concerned that something's going to happen if she goes to the restroom in a porta potty. She will be able to go into a nice, comfortable restroom with a toilet and a countertop and a sink and be able to wash her hands. And if it's a person who needs to change a baby's diaper, they will have the option to do that in a safe way. And so we will be humane at the Martin Luther King Park. And since that time, other parks now are requesting to get restrooms.
So you, again, it's a first. You yes. started the ball rolling, and now other people want to jump on the bandwagon, so to speak, of off of your
energy.
I was getting ready to say something else, but I guess I better not say that.
I'm gonna keep it clean. Energy.
Okay. So off of her big, thank you. That's the one I was looking for. Her vision to do something that would be. It was just a decent thing. Come on, Pastor. You know you can't have me, Lady MJ. You mean you can't go to the park and go to a decent bathroom. There's something wrong with that.
Yeah, I'd go, especially during Juneteenth, I'd always like to go there, but then I'd have to leave and go to Walgreens or Church's Chicken or somewhere to use the restroom. And I think they finally caught on and got tired, and so they wouldn't allow you to go to Church's and use the restroom unless you bought something. And then Walgreens, it just, takes a minute because they're servicing their clients that come in. And so we're getting it, and I'm just very grateful that we were able to raise the funds necessary and work with people at the city that support what we're trying to do to help us get through what I call red tape to make sure we could get it done.
Real Talk with the Jenkins. We'll be right back after these messages.
I'm Dr. Leon. I'm an independent interventional cardiologist practicing in San Angelo over the last 18 years. This room is our endovascular suite. This is the first outpatient cath lab in Concho Valley. We perform invasive procedures to improve the blood flow to the patient's legs, arteries, and veins. We have all the equipment we need to perform these procedures very safely in these outpatient settings. We can perform a atherectomy, which means remove the build-up plaque from the arteries of the legs, do balloon angioplasty, implant stents if needed, and we have all the technologies that the major medical centers have required to perform these procedures.
Call Cardiology Associates of West Texas at 325-944-1240. For limited time only, as an introduction to partnering with the Gospel America Television Network, we're offering airtime to pastors and business owners for only a free will offering of any amount you choose for your half-hour broadcast. You can also broadcast your church announcements for only $25 for a one-time announcement or $50 per month for multiple announcements each week. Don't just stream on Facebook or YouTube. Get a professional presence and stream on the largest multi-platform that includes Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, and online at www.gospelamerica.net. You can watch us 24/7. Download our app from the App Store or from Google Play to watch on your smartphone or tablet. Become a partner with the Christian TV network based in San Angelo, Texas, the Gospel America TV Network. Call 325-261-9391 or email us at gospelamericatv@gmail.com. Again, reach us by calling 325-261-9391 or email us at gospelamericatv@gmail.com.
My name is Travis with Grace Transmissions. Here at Grace Transmissions, we have a reputation for customer service, and we've been serving the San Angelo area for over 45 years. Our focus is you, the customer. So whether you need a diagnostic check or a complete transmission service repair, we're here for you. Grace Transmissions, where service meets quality, and that's our #1 priority.
We are here when you need us.
Grace Transmissions, 1202 Pulliam Street, San Angelo. And now back to Real Talk with MJ and Dr. G.
What's the next project for you? Because I know you're not going to stop. Now the bathrooms are a reality, or at least about to become a reality.
Yes.
The Buffalo Soldier Memorial, sponsored by the NAACP, was really, you spearheaded it. That's in the works. What's next?
Well, we were involved in getting the Confederate name change at one of the schools. We were instrumental in being involved in that process, and that's when I was really assassinated about being the type of person, and I won't use those terms because this is a family show. But those are things that we've made to change, because as long as we allow things to remain negative, that offend many of us, and we were not the only ones that were offended. It's just sometimes you have to bring something to the surface, and then other people will catch on, and they'll support you. And so that's what we've done. We were able to get the name of Lee Middle School named in honor of Confederate General Lee changed, and so we were able to do that.
Catch a lot of heat from that.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I saw some newspaper articles. People were calling you
all kinds of things.
Reverse racist. They were calling you why agitate, stir up hatred. And I don't believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think your goal was to start hatred or stir up hatred. It was to bring about a change to something that was sensitive to people in the African American community.
And in the white community as well. We have experiences where we have people who complain about having the Confederate flag when we do things at Fort Concho, because the Confederate flag never flew over Fort Concho. So it's not just black people that were offended, it's white people and brown people who were offended, but it took a group to really galvanize and move that forward and get that changed. And then, you talk about the Buffalo Soldier Memorial, and so in making everything transparent, it is a vision that I was given. I was president of the NAACP at the time, and I really wanted to try to get more support. I didn't think one person, one little lady could get that, and so I gave naming rights to the NAACP. So they're not sponsoring it. It is basically a vision that I have, that I'm collaborating with various sponsors and various people in the community and beyond here that are really making this happen. But I have given naming rights to the NAACP because I think we deserve it. We're the longest standing organization here in the city. And so when you think of nothing being visible that says black people ever did anything, ever were here, then I felt that the NAACP was the right organization to give that to, not a social club or anything, but a civil rights institution.
I'm glad you explained that, because even I was thinking, okay, this is to honor the Buffalo Soldiers, the African Americans who were in the U.S. Army. And some people might think that it's just a black thing, rather than thinking it's something to benefit the entire community.
Yeah.
Yes, it is going to benefit the entire community.
Well, we certainly want to thank you for being with us this week on Real Talk with the Jenkins, living, walking testimonial of the history of San Angelo in the person of Miss Sherley Spears, who is the former president of the San Angelo NAACP. And I've got to tell you, she's a mover and a shaker when it comes to getting things done. And we're proud of her, because this week we're commemorating African American History Month, honoring the people who have and are making and will continue to make history in the city of San Angelo. You're watching Real Talk with the Jenkins. I'm Dr. G.
I'm Lady MJ.
And we are the Jenkins.
Jerusalem, just like God, and I'll be there at the coming day. Walk in Jerusalem, just like God. I want to be ready. I want to be ready. I want to be ready to walk in Jerusalem, just like God. Said the city was just four square. Walk in Jerusalem, just like God. And he declared he'd meet him there. Walk in Jerusalem, just like God. I want to be ready.
Broadcasting worldwide on Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, and online. This is the Gospel America Television Network.